Hey, it's May. That means hope springs eternal. We have a bunch of new players that are ready to make an impact for your fantasy team, but we also have a fresh batch of players that you are panicked about, or at least you should be. We missed last week. Actually, I just told you straight up who to cut. Didn't do a panic level. It's time to reevaluate some of these veteran players, these stars, guys you drafted pretty high, and you have high expectations for, and you should. They haven't met them yet. Will they for the rest of the season? We could throw a lot of Orioles players in there, specifically in the offense. Let's start with the guy you didn't think you even had to worry at all about this year, Adley Rutschman, the catcher. I mean, he's a staple in that lineup, hits in the heart of the order. This should have been one of the best offenses in the league, honestly, and it hasn't been. And he's been a big part of that. I mean, it's time to stop shifting blame. Let's look at the guy who you didn't think would be cold to start the season. He has been. And, you look at the season long numbers, they're not terrible, but come on, you drafted this guy really early, not just because you wanted an elite catcher, but you wanted an elite bat who happens to be a catcher. Well, after Sunday, he's hitting 216, and that average, honestly, just keeps dropping. And I don't mean week after week. I mean, from his rookie season where he was just looking like a professional hitter, and then last season was a little disappointing. Are we seeing him trend downwards as a pro? He's got 4 homers in the season, sure, but 2 of those came on opening day. That means for a whole month plus of action, all of 2 home runs. And the RBIs and the runs, again, all of this is just very mediocre at this point. So when do we actually look at Rushman and say, okay, something's going on here? Maybe this isn't the type of player that we were expecting offensively. Maybe he's just not an elite catcher. That would be a mistake. And look, you know me, I say, I don't care what you did 2 years ago. I don't care how high your prospect ranking was, all of that. What have you done lately? But also, what are you actually producing when it matters? Well, he hasn't been, but I will tell you there are some promising signs for positive regression. Specifically, he's got an expected batting average that is 296? That's right. I mean, it's early enough that that mark isn't, among the best in the league. We've still got some players with some extremely high averages and expected batting averages, but that's top 40 among all qualified hitters. And so this tells me there's a huge discrepancy between his actual batting average, his expected batting average. And along with that, the power should eventually come because it looks like he's still hitting the ball hard as well. Only 3 hitters have experienced worse luck, if you want to call it that, between the actual and expected batting average. Look, Adley Rutschman, we know he should be much better. He will be much better. And so I'm not counting him out. I'm holding him. I might even buy low if I'm in the market for a catcher. I mean, why not? Most people I don't think would be willing to give up on him, but people are short sighted. They tend to get frustrated, and maybe they just don't believe in the talent here. I do. I'm setting the panic meter for Rushman out of 4 right now. I don't know if it's going to be the best offensive season among all catchers, but it doesn't need to be. You know what? I think he'll come close to returning basically, what your investment was on draft day, but I'm not selling at this point and definitely don't drop him. It's more fair to question about young hitter Matt McLain for the Reds because we don't have 3 seasons worth of data because he did not play at all last season. We had a promising, a little more than half of a rookie campaign. And so people expect all of a sudden this is a young superstar in the making. It's a little premature to say that, especially with the way he's performed this year. He's hitting 165. And as I mentioned not too long ago, they got that strikeout rate 31%. And look, this is something that you shouldn't be surprised at because even in his semi breakout rookie season, where he piled up homers and steals and hit for a decent average, his strikeout rate was still high. And that was kind of the red flag going into this year. Is he going to be able to hit for average? Is he going to be able to get those strikeouts down? No, those strikeouts have gone up. And he is getting you a little power, a little speed, but we're talking about 4 homers, 5 steals. That's not enough. There's plenty of players out there even available floating on your waiver wire who can give you that. So are we going to see some sort of a turnaround that is significant enough to, number one, warrant holding, but number two, to say that he's going to come even close to what you expected preseason? And I'll say what I said not long ago about him. I think that he will be worth rostering and for the most part worth keeping in your lineup as long as you know the batting average, it's going to come up, but really not that much. Now, he's also underachieving massively in terms of expected batting average, but that's just because his actual average is so low. His XBA is still, what, like 209? He will see some improvement on his batted ball outcomes eventually, but again, realistically, let's just say if he gets that average to like the 230s, 240s, you should be happy enough with that if he's getting you the homers and the steals. And based on his placement in a now productive Reds offense, the runs and the RBIs will also help you out. So as long as you can take the hit with batting average, I wouldn't completely panic here. We just have to kind of reset the expectation level. As far as my personal level of concern or panic with him, I'm going to say 6 because I'm worried that we're not going to see basically a budding superstar, but I don't know that I really expected that to begin with. Now, on the other end of the spectrum is the veteran. You shouldn't have had to worry about Christian Walker. If anything, going to Houston was going to be an upgrade. Well, these things don't always go as we expect. Coming out of May the 4th, he's got that average at a nice even 200. All right, so he's over the Gallo line, or at least at it. But what are we going to see from him? How about maybe a little power? Because if the average is going to be a drag, you're going to have to make up for it with at least some home runs, right? That's what Joey Gallo would do. He's not really doing that either. 4 home runs, okay. And he's got 6 doubles, all of 10 extra base hits on the season. You know who else has 10 extra base hits this season so far? Gabriel Arias of the Cleveland Guardians. So, Houston has had a very slow start offensively. He's not the only Astro who has struggled to find his footing at the plate. And Walker being new there, okay, maybe a little bit of time to acclimate, but this is a veteran. This guy's like 34 years old. And you want to say he's been a very consistent, producer over the years, but that's not really true. It's kind of misleading, actually. He has been productive, but he's also been inconsistent in doing so. He's had some spikes in terms of his seasons, in terms of power, in terms of average, even with Arizona. And the last couple years had been some of his best. So you thought it was just automatic. He would be a very similar, type of run producer and, 30 homer and bat in Houston. And he should be. Well, looking at the StatCast numbers here, the bat speed is actually fine. There's no issue there. And the average exit velocity is still good too. So it's not a matter of losing something physically. The issue, oddly enough, has been, as far as the awareness and the eyes, because he's not hitting the fastball nearly as well as he used to. He used to hit fastballs really well, but that average has tanked this year. When there's a timing issue, some sort of a reaction based, effect on the hitting, it's hard to pinpoint why that is. Guy maybe doesn't lose something physically, but maybe he loses some reaction time. But a sharp decline from one year to the next, that's not usually what happens. I mean, look, it has happened. We've seen many veterans fall off a cliff, but I'm not sure that's what it is. Again, I'm going to kind of chalk this up to just all the things I already said. Offense struggling, new environment. I think he'll get it right eventually, but that strikeout rate has got to cut down. Right now, he's on pace to post his worst strikeout rate. It's at 29.7%, basically since he became a regular first baseman back with Arizona. Can a proven slugger like this start hitting the fastball better? Absolutely, he can. This seems like something that will correct itself over time. But I'm also going to say, based on the inconsistency from the past and the fact that I'm not completely sold that he's going to put up a season like he did with Arizona the last year or two, I'm still going to keep the panic meter kind of high at a 7. So I'm not out on Walker, but I'm going to tell you what, I'm putting him here and not on the buy low video because I'm not trying to buy him right now. Now, I might actually go out and try to buy Alec Bohm. Now, Bohm has been a very polarizing player so far, and a lot of people are kind of itching to get him off their roster or at least, explore the possibility. Do I hold on to him? Do I trade him? What do I do? He's been pretty bad so far. Now, I actually liked Bohm. I called him one of the better draft values based on how late you could get him because this is a player who, over the past few seasons has been a big time RBI producer and for the position he plays, definitely going to help you as far as batting average, one of the highest XBAs of all. And that play discipline is still there, only a 16% strikeout rate. Whiff rate is in the 95th percentile, so that hasn't changed. But what's going on here? That XBA is only the 77th percentile. Yeah, that's actually surprising that it's that high considering he's hitting 228 right now. But what do we have here? another underachiever, a guy that we know year after year hits for average. That average is super low. It could be all the way up to the 290s. But one thing I do know, and this is why I am able to stay patient with Alec Boehm, is he is streaky and he always has been. He will have a red hot month and he'll have an ice cold one, and he just so happened to pick April for a cold month. I'm willing to bet that pretty soon we're going to see him go on a massive hot streak. Hey, maybe it happens now. We saw on Sunday in the ninth inning, he hit a game-tying RBI single, and he's been getting a little bit better lately. The big problem is there's no power, and literally no power, not a single home run yet. Yeah, for a corner infielder, that's concerning, right? You can't have somebody at third base every day who gets you 0 home runs. But again, they will come. I doubt he goes all year without at least reaching double digits. But again, you have to know that you should not have expected a ton of power to begin with. Last year, 15 home runs, it's probably what he's going to get you this year. But what you are getting, RBIs, batting average, runs scored, not too bad. Look, I will still take him. I will buy low if I can. Panic, no, I'm not going to drop him yet. I'm going to keep that panic meter pretty low, actually, at a 3. I do have a picture for you. I know a lot of people are freaked out by Shane Baz and his last couple of starts, and I get it. In 2 of his last 3 outings, he was basically lit up, and this comes on the heels of an amazing start to the season. So, such a dramatic change for a guy who also just missed an entire year with injury. And then the concerns are going to be, is he right? Is there something physical creeping up here again? What's going on here? Because we can't chalk it up to rust because his first couple of starts were amazing. Well, his velocity is not down, so that's good. It's definitely reassuring. He wasn't pulled super early. This is something where if you look at the game log, I did mention this with Ryan Pepio and a couple other Tampa pitchers earlier. This is just a quirk of the schedule based on the way things shook out for the Rays and, the scheduling with their temporary home stadium. Almost all of his starts have been at home at Steinbrenner Field, that minor league ballpark. And that's not necessarily good because right now that wind tends to be blowing out more than in. This has been a little bit more favorable for hitters. Okay, so that's part of it, but that doesn't explain why was he so good early and then so bad lately. So 4 of his first 5 starts, he was great. The one start where he wasn't was against the Yankees. All right, I mean that's easy to explain, right? It's the Yankees. But this last start against the Royals, it's really hard to explain that. They've been one of the worst offenses in the majors. Is this just a sign of regression both sides? The Royals were due to actually do something on offense, and Baz was due for another bad start? That's oversimplifying things massively. One thing I noticed that's a little unusual, his pitch mix has changed a bit throughout the course of the season. So in his very first start, he was more slider heavy. He threw 19 of them. His next start went to 11, and then all of a sudden he almost abandoned it completely. Only 3 and then 1. It's like he just stopped using it and he leaned more on the knuckle curve along with the four seamer. And it wasn't bad until it was bad. So you got to wonder if this is just a case of a guy who, again, missed so much time. He's just trying to get comfortable with what he's using to execute against hitters. I do think overall we've seen the stuff is great. The health is intact as far as we know. The velocity is not down. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I can't say I'm not worried at all, right? Because we know that things could change, but I'll just kind of, I guess, hedge my bet and put the panic meter at a 5. If I have Baz, I'm holding him. I'm not going out and actively trying to trade for him, but I'm also not going to give him up just yet. Got to remember, even though we're a month in, it is still really early in the baseball season. Give these guys the benefit of the doubt if you can, because you've seen them do it before. And make sure you give our latest video a watch. Give us a thumbs up as well and subscribe. Going to be here to help you all season long to win in fantasy.